All right. Okay, so I'll just kick off. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Manhattan Detention Complex Construction Demolition Working Group. Welcome back, everybody, from the holidays. There's been a lot going on with the project and some various meetings that we've had since the last convening of this group. So we'll have various updates. This meeting and this working group is co-convened by the offices of Dan Goldman, our Congressman member, Assemblymember Grace Lee, Manhattan Borough resident Mark Levine, Councilmember Chris Marte, and Community Road 1, and my office, the Office of State Senator Brian Kavanaugh, that's me. And again, the meetings are recorded and will be posted on our various websites for folks who are not here in person and want the updates. So we did send out an agenda in advance, but before I get to that, just pause if there are any kind of comments or questions or opening notes from any of the co-convening parties. Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed with the agenda. We're gonna have a review of sort of overall, function of this working group. As a reminder, we will have a discussion of some of the issues of the quality of life issues that have arisen since the last meeting, and construction demolition updates from the contractors and from DEC. And then we will conclude, as we always do, with stakeholder discussion, questions, and comments, and hopefully some answers. Just first of all, a few announcements and updates since our last meeting. We have had ongoing conversations with the City Department of Housing Preservation and Development, which I think is not represented on this call, if I'm not mistaken, and with Chungpak. And we understand that they're expected to finalize and close a funds transfer for Chungpak's renovations in the coming weeks. So I think there'll be, firmer news on that soon, but those conversations have been productive, and I think that should allow Chungpak to address some of the concerns that have arisen due to the construction, and just more generally improve, conditions there in Chungpak for the residents and tenants of the building. Also, there had been a proposal from Neighbors United below Canal and Welcome to Chinatown to discuss the issue of White Street and the pedestrian plaza and possible uses of the site in the coming months. And there is going to be a separate meeting of that. There's going to be a separate meeting that'll be held in the interim that the city and the contractors have agreed to with community representatives. So that's just I guess a minor update in the meantime. We also, there is a design peer review board for the Manhattan facility that's ultimately planned to be built at this site. And we had a conversation with the city about ways to get more community input into that process, into the design process for the new jail. And we're happy to announce that the city has agreed to add 2 community representatives to that peer review board. And, the peer review board, there's a citywide peer review board that has a bunch of various experts and luminaries in design and in some of the policy issues that are raised here. But there'll be a subgroup for the Manhattan site specifically, which currently was slated to have roughly 6 members. So there'll be 2 additional members that will be designated to represent the community. So again, we're happy to report some progress on that. And again, I think the announcement of who those representatives will be coming soon. Anything, so I think we're going to go from any questions or comments on any of that? Okay, again, hearing none. I think do we have Laura on the line now, or?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, for some reason the 4 of us were in a separate meeting. I'm not sure what happened with that. But...
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not sure what.
So do we want to do, folks, do we want to do construction demolition updates first, I think? And then go to Laura? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So why don't we hear from DDC Gramercy Jason?
He's one of my deputies, so he just joined today.
Welcome aboard.
Absolutely.
Pablo
Richard,
Lopez, I think you're not muted.
Let's see. Okay.
we've had a few of that happening on this call so far this morning. Yeah, everybody who's not actively speaking or presenting, if you could mute yourselves, that would be great. Give me 1 second and I will share the PowerPoint on the screen. And then I will turn it over to Rich Peterson, who will go through most of our updates. Okay, I'm gonna turn it into full screen mode, but sometimes when I do this on Zoom, it shows, are you guys able to see the full screen presentation, or are you seeing the like behind the scenes slide view?
Behind the scenes.
The next slide.
All right, let me try one more time, and if that doesn't work, we'll just do a smaller view on here. Okay, are you seeing the full screen view now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, I'm not going to do a whole welcome and intro. I think Senator Kavanaugh just covered that wonderfully. So thank you so much, Senator. So we just did the intros, working group goals, ground rules, etc. So we're into item number 3, which is the dismantle project updates. And following this, we'll then turn it over to Laura Dodge from Excel to share her updates as our independent environmental monitor, and then we'll open it up for questions from everyone. So Rich, I'm just gonna hand it off to you and you can jump right in and we'll get through the brief presentation.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Rich Peterson here with Gramercy Group. Right now, the dismantle milestones, we are near the end of the project. The North Tower dismantlement is essentially completed. Some miscellaneous small cleanup and some finaling of the waterproofing is ongoing through the end of February. The South Tower dismantlement has the last few bays adjacent to the courthouse, which will be going on in February, with substantial completion at the end of March. Right here is an update of the site. As you can see, the site has been bermed and essentially finished, except for that last few bays you see on the right hand of the screen against the courthouse. You can see Chungpak's wall has been parged and waterproofed, and we're finalizing the waterproofing adjacent to the foundation at the ground level. Environmental monitoring plan attached. You can see on the right the location of the monitors that we have on site, which include noise, vibration, and air monitoring. Here are some examples of the air and noise monitors that are around the perimeter of the site that you can see. On the left is the one that's just inside our site over on Baxter Street, and on the right is one that's over on Center Street on the sidewalk. These are the environmental monitoring reports you've been seeing month after month, some examples of what they look like.
And just as a reminder to everyone, these are posted on our website publicly. We do try to post them every month, and they usually get posted around mid-month for the month that was preceding.
The environmental monitors are checked. Daily real-time monitoring check is done throughout the week, daily. Technicians are on site several days of the week to ensure that they are all running correctly. And the CCL and Excel can check real-time data if community members have any air quality, noise, and vibration concerns prior to the monthly reports being published.
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to make sure we reiterate and make sure it's really clear for everyone on this call. I think there was some confusion that resulted during the meeting that we did in December with the community board. People seem to somehow get a takeaway or seem to think that we do not have real-time monitoring happening on the site. So we do. There are 8 monitoring stations, as you saw on that previous map, that are around the entire site perimeter that are doing air monitoring in real time. all week during all working hours. So that is in place. We do have real-time monitoring in place all around the site. Just wanted to make sure that that's really clear for everybody. Thank you.
Okay, update on October and November. Air quality, there were 9 instances in October and 7 in November where dust concentrations were above the threshold. These were checked on, and some of them were relating to dust infiltration to the Chung Pak back of house where we were removing the wall, and some were related to existing dust in the room that were shook and loose from the work in those back of house areas, all of which were immediately checked out. And due to the cracks and holes in the Chung Pak CMU wall, we spray foamed and plasticized those openings as they were exposed throughout the process. Noise monitoring, there were 25 instances in October and 13 in November. A lot of these were once again attributed to the North Tower wall dismantlement as well as local traffic, but the ones against the wall in Chung Pak was done by whenever we had an exceedance, checking our chopping locations, adjusting our chopping methods, as well as trying to get more sound blankets between the wall and the work being performed. Vibration monitoring, once again, 5 instances in October, 6 in November. These were all basically related due to that North Tower gym wall. To be clear, these monitors were placed on the non-structural wall of Chung Pak, the CMU wall that was adjacent to the work, so that we could monitor that we were not affecting that wall. And anytime that the monitor did trip, we changed our chopping and tried our best to maintain that vibration level to a minimum.
Great, thanks, Rich. And just for any folks who are curious, we should have our December reports finalized and posted sometime in the next approximately week or so. Thanks, everybody. And then our last slide, just a reminder, I know everyone's seen this slide a bunch before, but in between these touch points, there are resources available to the community. As I mentioned earlier, we have our website where we post the monitoring reports every single month, and that does include all of the recorded data for all of the community air monitoring, noise, and vibration stations that are around the site perimeter. We also have our CCL, and as was noted on the previous slide, if there are any questions about the data, partway through the month, you don't just have to wait for one of our monthly reports to come out. You can always contact our CCL. You can ask the team, and they can check that data in real time and get responses back to the community quite quickly. So please do feel free to reach out to Nikita, as well as reaching out to the I think some folks reach out directly to the independent environmental monitor. So either way is fine. But just letting you know that that resource is available, and we will continue to publish our weekly construction bulletins and advisories in advance of any impactful construction activity. All right, I think that's the end of our short presentation on the dismantle project updates and ongoing activity. Before we open it up to questions, I think we also have a short presentation from Laura now.
Right. Morning, everybody. You can hear me okay? We posted a second report, which I think is also available on the website. I also provided it to CB1 by email last Friday, which goes through December 15th. And in that report, we report on our review of the air monitoring, the dust particulate levels, the noise, and also the vibration. And we provide the screenshots of the monitoring during the reporting period, so you can see the actual graphs that show, what's being recorded by Vibra Analytics. Before I get into the report for this particular period, I just wanted to clarify if there was a misunderstanding on my comments about real-time monitoring. The real-time monitoring I was talking about was the instantaneous readings using handheld instruments. And I'll explain why that recommendation was one of the ones that we made back in November. As Lauren indicated, the Vibra Analytics is continuing to monitor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week around the entire property. The perimeter camp stations record data continuously. And those data are being reviewed by us as well as by the project team. But the reason for my recommendation on using handheld instruments on site has to do with trying to ground truth things that people are seeing and concerns that have been raised previously by community members. So in my report, which is comprehensive, I mean, we went through our review of, the day-to-day operations, which we get daily reports back from the project team to Excel that indicate, if there were exceedances, what the cause of those exceedances are, so we can track, because we're not on site, so we have to rely upon information that's provided to us. But we have been reviewing the Vibra Analytics website on a regular basis and asking questions where we need to ask them. And I'm not sure if anyone's been able to review the report, but what we basically say is, in general, I mean, and we've reported on this from the beginning, the plans that are in place are being implemented. The one thing that we're pointing out in this report, which is a little different than in my previous report, is that the noise monitoring that's being reported by the project team in their monthly report is focusing on the LEQ, which is noise over a 20-minute average period, where the approved plans require the LMAX to be reported. So that's something that I would like the project team to take a look at. If you look at our report, we're monitoring both the LMAX, which is a graph that shows the highest noise reading inside a 1 minute time frame. And then the LMAX, the LEQ is a black line on that same graph, which shows the 20-minute average reading. So if there was a change from the time that environmental management report was approved back in January of 2022, then that's something that needs to be relayed to me, because I haven't seen anything that indicates that there was a change, but that's something that we should, have a chat about. I did speak to you guys about it last week when we had our brief call. So